Hello, ladies. Welcome back to Rock Your Reinvention, the show that gives you the tools, motivation, and tips that you need to reinvent your life by interviewing amazing women like our guest Tana today so that you can reinvent your life, avoid their pitfalls, learn from them, and have the courage to go forth and make the leap. So before we jump in today, Tana, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, Karen. I'm so excited to be involved and be invited on the show.
Yeah, well, we met through Elevate, which is a women's networking group, and we just hit it off. Realized when we chatted that we had so much in common, with just reinventing our lives and being a mom and all that good stuff, that I thought, oh, this will be so fun to have you on the show and just share your wisdom with all of our audience.
Yeah.
So with that, why don't I just turn it over to you first, just to introduce yourself and tell us who you are.
Yeah, I'm Tana Gildea. I am a financial advisor with Homrick Berg, which is a wealth management firm. So holistic wealth management for clients. A lot of my clients are kind of on the ends of the spectrum. So young, maybe have a lot of income, building their wealth, need a lot of financial planning. And then in the other end of the spectrum where they're getting close to retirement and looking for something to guide them through that process. I have 4 adult children. The first one is getting married in January. So we're super excited about that life event happening for us. I'm married, live in Woodstock, Georgia, and I'm an author and a speaker.
Yes. Oh, we're definitely going to talk about your book today. And, this just kind of hit me as you were using words like wealth management. I love that word. And I want all of the women who are watching or who will watch the replay of this to really consider finding a financial advisor that is going to treat you as if you are wealthy. Like, you want someone to manage your money, even if it's not that much yet, as if it were trillions, okay? Because they're going to be there to really guide you and help you create that portfolio. But if you have somebody who's like, they can't really be bothered, you're not really at the tier that it makes sense, like, find somebody else, okay? Because there's people out there like Tana who are going to treat you with the respect that you deserve. I just needed to share.
I could do a whole show on just that topic.
Right? Oh, I bet you could. Yeah. And we're going to definitely get to some of your tips, because there's no way we can let you out of here without getting some wealth management tips. But I want to take you back first, all the way to the beginning of your career. I'm sure it seems like a long time ago, but you were a CPA at KPMG. I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with that organization. But there was some stuff going on there that forced you into a bit of a reinvention. So tell us what was going on there and what caused you to move out of that role.
Yeah, I love Pete Marwick, now KPMG. I was doing corporate audits, which meant that I traveled a lot and I worked a lot of hours. And especially, I had a lot of clients that were either banks or public companies. So that first, 4 months of the year, we're so busy, and I was always working. And I had gotten married, got promoted to manager, which that was always a big goal, that I would, be a manager. And then we found out we were having our first child. And I said, okay, I'm not sure that I want to be a mom in this environment. I think it's a lot better and more flexible now, because think back to 1993, we didn't have the internet and email and work from home and all of those things. So you physically went someplace every day to do your job. So I decided that, I really didn't want to stay in that role. So after she was born, I started looking, and I found a job with MCI, which was telecom, became WorldCom. That was this whole nother story. And then proceeded to have, 2 more babies very quickly. So, by, 97, I had, 3 kids and a big job. And, that's where we were.
Yeah, well, I think it's really important to share these stories, because I think there's a lot of women who feel like, well, I've got this big job, I'm doing all these things, I'm traveling, I'm living the life, but there's this inner struggle, right? On one side, they're like, hey, this is what I always thought I wanted, this is what I should be doing, right? And then on the other hand, it's like, but wait, I want to be home with my babies. I was in corporate training when I had my first son. And don't get me wrong, there were nights that I loved being in a hotel and got like a full night's sleep. But there were times that I was just, my heart felt like it was being ripped out of my chest. I didn't want to leave my baby. And it was so hard for my husband to be like basically a single parent 4 nights a week while I'm off, eating Outback Steakhouse in my hotel bed, like living it up. So eventually I did the same thing, right? And had to find a job more in the office. But I know from when we talked, you mentioned that even at MCI, you got really burnt out.
I did.
Yeah,
I got
burnt out. Bit about that.
And I think, as I looked back at all of the different phases of my life, it wasn't them, it was me on all of these. It's I was volunteering all the time. It wasn't them, it was me. That I just jump in a really big way to anything I'm doing. So I would jump into the mom thing really big. I jumped into the, manager thing really big. And the huge light bulb as I look back is I was trying to do everything. The yard, keep up with the house. Why should I pay someone to clean my house? I'm perfectly capable of cleaning my house. Yes, I was capable, but there's not enough hours to go big in everything, in every area of our lives. And that's what I didn't really get when I was, in my early 30s and having kids and all of that is, my husband is amazing. He always was jump in. He made the bottles every night. He changed diapers. He cooked dinner, cleaned up after dinner. He did all the stuff. I couldn't have asked for a better partner in life, and still feel that way. But it's just, there's too many things to be done. So big in everything. And so I think if I had let somebody else take care of the yard, let somebody else clean the house, been willing to outsource some things, I might not have been so overwhelmed. But I had the perfectionist, you got to have the great yard. The kids have to look good. I have to look good. I got to work out. I got to do this. I got to do that. And so I think we're becoming more aware that we let go of the perfectionist part of it. But, back then it was still very much that way. And there was no flexibility with corporate work. Again, there wasn't really a virtual work from home kind of thing. MCI was a bit ahead because we did have an internal email system, because we were a communications company. So we had some stuff that, when I was on maternity leave, I had to go in and do annual reviews and connect to certain things, but it wasn't like it is now with the virtual work, which is its own, headache. But it was sort of like, I have to be yes or no.
Right.
And working at that big job, the grown-up job. And so I eventually, when there was stuff going on with MCI merging, supposed to have merged with British Telecom. I had told everybody when the merger comes through, I'm leaving, getting the stock options, all those things. And then that deal fell through with WorldCom. Came in, and I'm like, I can't keep trying to limp along for another 6 months or a year while this gets going. I just need to leave. And so I did. I went all the way out. I was a stay-home mom, at which point I became a psycho volunteer. My daughter was starting kindergarten. And so I'm like, well, if I get to stay home, then I must contribute, exponentially to the school, the PTA, Girl Scouts. I did all that. I was having my 4th child. So again, the problem was me, in this jumping in and trying to do everything and feel like I had to, like I'm supposed to, I have to. And if we could get rid of I'm supposed to,
thank you.
That would lighten a lot of loads on a lot of people.
Supposed to, should have.
Yeah,
all those words. I have to do a lot of deconditioning with my clients on that, because It is. They have, and it's rooted from very young age, right? In the way that they saw their parents or comments that were made to them. I mean, I'm talking about it in the new book that I'm writing. You know, I had a college professor who told me that I'd probably always be poor. And man, I took that to heart. And I was like, I'm going to show her. Oh, you think I'm always going to be poor? I'll make that 6-figure salary, right? And it was almost like to my detriment, though, because I was like, right, exactly. Yeah. So it's these extremes. So tell me a little bit more about this then when you realize, because it is a choice, as you said, when you realize, okay, I'm creating my own burnout. Like I am the one who is throwing myself into way too many things. I'm overcommitting. What did you do to get that under control and rein it back in?
Well, you know, I am never like the slow and steady. I'm like deep in and learn to swim on the way into the pool kind of person. And then I'm like, if I'm not going to be in the pool, I'm out of the pool. And there's no wading into the shallow end kind of thing. So I really got to the point we moved. And so my kids changed schools. And I told my husband, I'm walking in that school with a hat and sunglasses, and I'm not making eye contact with anybody because I cannot get sucked back into the PTA volunteer stuff. So that helped, but it also helped for me to make a decision that I'm not saying yes to anything. And I have to let myself get settled in the new place. I've got to put my focus on my kids as they're trying to get in new schools and all of that. So that was a good excuse that let me feel good about my choice to say no.
Yep.
And I thought I should always say yes. And I had to then work on myself to say, you don't actually have to volunteer for everything. You can choose what you want to do. And I know I learned a lot about myself in my stay-at-home mom years. And I learned what I thought when I was going to stay home with my kids was that I was playing blocks on the floor all day. And then after about 3 minutes of blocks on day one, I'm like, let me re-landscape the yard. Let me repaint the house. Let me volunteer for 64 things. Because I'm like, I love my kids. I love doing stuff with my kids, but I can't all day, every day be like with the kids.
And that's so important. And I'm glad that you said that because
people can. And that's awesome. Yep. If you love that and your personality is such that you can do blocks and finger paint and all that stuff all day long and be happy, God bless you for, that's awesome. I just wasn't and am not that person. I need to do things. I always have a lot of ideas for things. I want to be engaged. I feel like I have a lot to give. And so I just, I couldn't do that. And so I went the other way in the volunteer stuff. But it is knowing yourself a little bit. And sometimes we're moving so fast and juggling so many things that we don't ever really stop and say, do I like this?
Yeah.
Do I, my best friend asked me to join this board or committee or project or whatever. And you feel like you should, you like your friend, you want to spend time with your friend, you want to help your friend. But do you ever stop and say, will I enjoy putting on this festival? Am I going to enjoy all the meetings, the interaction, the politics of it, the coordinating of it? Is that how I want to spend my time?
Yep.
So if people listening don't hear one other thing except this, hear this one. You can say, let me give it some thought.
So good.
So you don't just say no. You don't just say yes. You say, let me give it some thought. Because if I commit to it, I want to be able to do a really good job. And I need to think about my other commitments. I need to think about where my strengths are, what I like, what I don't like. And then you get to walk away and kind of make a list. Like, what is this going to involve? Is this playing to my strengths? Is it playing to things that irritate me? Like dealing with ticky-tacky, should we have chocolate chip cookies or peanut butter cookies kinds of conversations.
Right.
And letting yourself have some time and space to really make an informed decision and just getting quiet. I found pretty quickly, if I would just let myself get quiet and think about, okay, I'm going to run the XYZ Project Festival committee. How does my body feel?
Yeah.
Am I immediately feeling like, oh, I got to do all those meetings, I got to send all those emails? Because there was plenty of times where my body felt that, but my brain said, yeah, well, you should, because
don't listen to that.
Blah, blah, blah. But if if it's something like, oh my God, I can't wait. I've always wanted to be on that festival. I've always wanted to coordinate. I've always wanted to plan. I've always wanted to meet these people that are doing it. Then that is something that's likely to be a good experience, and you can give your whole self to it, versus I'm doing it out of this obligation and this drudgery. And that was where I got to, was that I get up in the morning, I look at the stuff I have to do, and it's this drudgery. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I had to just kind of make a list of all the things and say, what's the thing I enjoy? And what's the things I don't enjoy?
So smart. And that's easy.
Yeah.
Every single person listening right now can do that. You can go make that list. Look at your calendar for the rest of the week. Make that list. What is on there that you are going to enjoy? And what is on there that you're not going to enjoy? How do you get rid of the stuff you don't enjoy and put more things in the do enjoy? I mean, it really is that simple.
It is that simple. And you might not be able to resign in the middle of the festival planning. That's fine. But then, next year or at the end of it, when they say, hey, let's get going for next time, you're like, I did it. Here's all my notes. Here's what I would do differently. I wish you success, but I am not able to participate. And that is a complete sentence. I am not able to participate.
Yes.
You don't have to say why. You don't have to explain. You don't owe anybody anything when they're asking you to give of your time and your talents. No, thank you. I am not able to help. I so appreciate you thinking of me. I wish you a lot of luck. That, and we just, for some reason, women have a very hard time with that. My husband has zero problem. Like, heck no, I'm not doing that.
Yep.
Like, okay, well,
we do. We're givers.
Correct, but we just have to learn that it's okay to not do everything.
Yeah, and be okay with that. I love that.
And it doesn't even matter if you have the time or the ability.
Right.
If you
that's irrelevant.
You have every right to say, no, thank you. I'm not able to do that.
Yeah, that is gold. I hope everybody's going to write down that phrase. Let me give it some thought, because that is going to be a lifesaver, I think, for a lot of people watching. And for those of you that are watching live, feel free to drop questions for Tana as we're going through, because I can ask them at the appropriate time. So you took this break from work, right? You left the corporate world. So brave, because I think a lot of women hold themselves back. They think, if I leave, I'm never going to be able to come back in. This is it. I'm going to lose all my skills. Not true, ladies. As obviously, identified by you and your success. So you come back in as a part-time financial planner and work your way up to principal at the firm. And you were at one time chief compliance officer as well. So tell us a little bit about that journey. And was there any imposter syndrome? Because it doesn't sound like you had a financial planning background when you jumped into that.
I didn't. And I didn't go, from A to Z so quickly. Sure. I was a personal trainer for a while. I had some small network marketing kind of things that I tried. I taught in a college, taught accounting in college. I worked at a walk-in tax place for 3 or 4 tax seasons. So I was dabbling in things. And fortunately for me, whatever my personality is, that whole just jump in and start doing it. I just always thought, well, let me try it. And if I don't like it, I don't have to keep doing it. If I'm not good at it, I will do the best I can and then, get out as easily and quickly as I can. So I just kept trying all these things. And then when the financial planning gig came up, I was like, I was starting at this very entry level, like paperwork, filing, some reconciliation stuff. And so I got in, and of course the salary differential from where I left and where I, was like massive. But I was less worried about that piece of it than just let me find my next thing.
Sure.
And so I started doing it. And because I was starting at, this very basic, like whatever they needed done, if it's filing, if it's, reaching out to clients, scheduling meetings, taking notes, whatever, I can do it. I just jumped in and was like, I'm not afraid to say I don't know how to do something. I would say I don't know how to use Excel in that way. Is there a book? Is there a class? So I was open to saying what I didn't know or needed help with. And I just went in, I think, with this spirit of just curiosity and interest about what they were doing, about the environment. I love to learn. I love to read. I could be a full-time student and study from astrology to zoology and just be perfectly happy. So I think that whole curiosity learning mindset was helpful. And, in terms of the imposter stuff, I don't think when I was coming up the ranks, the old firm was called Compass Financial. I was just growing up and I could see what's the next thing I need to learn, and I could learn it a little bit in advance.
Sure.
So I didn't ever really feel in that situation like the imposter thing. Where that more hit me 5 years ago, the old firm Compass merged with Hammerberg, which Hammerberg is a very big wealth management firm in Atlanta, very big in the Southeast. And when I looked at the partner group in that firm and what they had done and accomplished, I often looked around that table like, man, I am like the peoniest of peons sitting around this table, because Andy Berg, Robin Aiken is like a top named advisor. Stephanie Lang is one of the only female CIOs. She's on CNN. She's on Bloomberg. She's
right.
And so I look around at these people like they're so smart. They're so accomplished. And one of the things that I just had to keep saying to myself is, I cannot be Stephanie Lang. I cannot be Robin Aiken. I cannot be Ellen. They have different skills and background than I have. And when I came in, because I'd spent a lot of time running the firm in the other firm, I didn't have a big client base. And so all I could do was be wide open to what can I give the clients, the firm. So I was like, I will take on any client that anybody needs. I will transition any client from any advisor that's not a good fit or that is too small for you. I will do classes for staff. I will write our internal posts. I'll do the HB Academy, which is our internal platform. So I just had my hand in the air for, again, that's a little bit of a pattern that I always have. But I felt like I will earn my spot at this table. It's not going to look the same as Stephanie and Robin and Bill and Andy Berg and all these other amazing people, because I don't have the gifts that they have. I only have,
you have your gifts.
Mine.
Yeah.
So I'll just try, like, what can I give? How can I make the firm a better place?
Well, I love that, because we don't need another Stephanie, right? We need a Tana Gildea. So that's great. And I think there's so many women who do get caught up in that trap of trying to be like other people, but then we're you're gonna minimizing our own
strength. You're gonna fail every time.
Yeah.
When you try to be somebody you're not, you will fail, because that's not who you were brought onto the planet to be. And so, I still have those moments. I still am in meetings or with things or, around people, because everybody at the firm is just so smart, so accomplished, does so much. I have those moments, but I have to just stop and go, they can't do what you're doing either. They can't
Yes.
do what I'm doing. And and then a lot of times I'm just too busy doing what I'm doing to dwell on a lot of,
Oh, love that.
you just keep doing what you can do and serving in the way you can serve. And then you just don't have a lot of time for, worrying
Yeah.
about it.
Oh, that's so smart.
And then I
So,
think just keeping that growth mindset of, okay, if I don't know what I need to know in this particular area, or I feel a little, wobbly on this topic, there's a wealth of information out there. You can always read more about it. You can always take a class. You can always, shadow somebody, like our firm is amazing about that. We have these investment calls and they're always like, hey, if you don't understand how this bond fund works, ask questions. And they never make you feel like you're an idiot because you're like, I don't really understand this, because nobody can know everything.
Thank
And
you.
so, you
So
just
true.
have to be willing to say, okay, well, I need to invest a little more time because I'm not feeling confident on this topic. And, sometimes you don't need to. Sometimes you can say, well, I'm going to, hand those things off to my colleague who's really brilliant in that.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just want to know for your own knowledge. But, you can always learn and grow in those areas you don't feel great about.
That's the thing, right? We have the power to do that and to change. We don't necessarily always need to have every skill, but if there's an area that we're passionate about growing in, absolutely, like make that a priority.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, if you had to give the women watching who want to improve their financial position, what are your 2 biggest tips that you would share with them?
Okay, you have to know your numbers. So
Okay.
there's so many clients that come in, or people that I talk to, that don't know like net worth, all your assets, all your liabilities. And the difference is your net worth. So you need to know that, and you need to track it on a regular basis. It doesn't need to be every month. I had somebody who's like, oh, I update it every week. I'm like, really? That seems like kind of
wow.
But because it was a spreadsheet, it wasn't even like Quicken or something that was sort of auto updating. But there's so many tools. So know your numbers. If you're scared about your numbers, let me know. The first chapter of my book is about your money story, and I have a handout I can send to anybody that needs it. I speak a lot about money story because we have those stories in our head from somebody who said something sometime. You might not even remember when that was, but you got this. And I have people tell me all the time, well, I'm just not good with money. That's a story. I don't have time to deal with it. That's a story. They're all stories. Anyway, so that and your cash flow. What is your monthly cash flow? And I tell my clients that are getting ready for retirement, figure out your survival budget. Like if you had to just really food, clothing, and shelter, kind of like the bare minimum of what does it take to turn the lights on and keep a little food in the fridge. And then add layers of luxury from there. So making up numbers. If you say, well, it costs me $5,000 a month to pay the mortgage and the utilities and the car payment and do all those things I need to do, but I make $8 a month net coming in. Okay, then in $500 increments, what is the next $500 that you would allocate money to? Because that's your highest priority. And you do that in layers. And so if you then say, well, I might need to cut my expenses by $1,000, well, you start at the least important layer. The eating out, the running through the drive-through when you're tired, the Starbucks, all those things that we don't know, we don't care. It's just an in the moment thing. Anyway, so then you can trim back. Okay, well, I got this 500 that I'm willing to give up to start, investing in a new business or going back to school or whatever your dream is. But once you know those numbers, now you have power. And you can make decisions. And then know on the debt side, make sure you know what are the interest rates you're paying, what is the annual interest burden on that debt, because a lot of times we don't look at that. We look at what's the minimum payment, whatever. But that helps you identify if you wanted to take that last 500 layer of luxury and pay down debt, now I know that I want to target that high interest rate debt and get that down, because that's costing me X per year. And I've
Oh my
got
God.
some templates and spreadsheets for some of this stuff, and just ping me and I'm happy to share some of that. But yeah, you got to
Thank
know your
you.
numbers. That's thing one.
Yeah, and that's new. I have not heard that before, layering on in $500 increments. So I love that tip, and it's tangible, and it's something we can all go back and do right now. So just before we wrap up, I would love to hear if women are watching this and like, I want to make a leap, I want to make a change, but I don't know what to do to get started. What's the one thing you would tell them?
Do one little thing almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to think, before I wrote my book, I'd always wanted to write a book. And I used to have this story that if I don't have 4 or 5 or 6 hours of uninterrupted, quiet time
Yep.
to be able to focus on this, I can't do it. And that's just a story. Okay. So you have to look for all those little things you're telling yourselves that aren't true, and just disregard it and say, what's one thing I could do in the next 10 minutes? And if you just block off a 10 or 15 or 20-minute little block of time to do one thing, and maybe it's make a list. Here are the 457 steps that's going to take me to get from point A to where I want to be. Okay, well, now you have 457 little things that you could do. And maybe one of those steps is 10 little things. But if you start doing a little bit every day, it doesn't seem overwhelming.
Yes. And it adds up fast.
It adds up fast, and you start getting a little bit of momentum, and you start seeing some things that it could happen. Like, I could do this in 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And if you have 5 hours, lovely. But very few of us have like this,
Right.
nirvana of free time that we can just devote to whatever we want to do. And even when I would block out time, then I was so overwhelmed with like, well, I got to get the right things done in this block of time. That it almost was like too stressful. If I just sat down and like done 2 or 3 things, or write a paragraph, or write an outline, or just whatever you can do in snatches of time, then it's going to start picking up momentum, and you'll see the universe start moving on your behalf to help and to make things happen. But when we stay in our head, the universe can't start making things happen. You have to say, well, I'm going to go to that networking thing. I'm going to listen to that class. I'm going to click on that thing. I'm going to do this research. And then the universe is like, okay, now I got something to work with. I can put some people in there. I can bring that blog post up. I can, make some connections. So you just have to start taking action, however small. There's no step that's too small.
Oh, so true. I love it. This has been amazing. I could talk to you all afternoon. You have so much knowledge to share. Where can people get your book? Tell us the title and where they can get it.
Yeah. So the title is The Graduate's Guide to Money. It is on Amazon. If you go to thegraduatesguidetomoney.com, there's links on there to buy it. I also have a book that might be helpful. It's called Building a Business, Building a Life. Incredible stories of female entrepreneurs. And so I'll throw those links in the, on your Facebook page.
Great.
But that was a collaboration. And so it is small stories from women entrepreneurs about things that they found helpful as they started businesses and that kind of thing. So anybody looking to go on the entrepreneurial journey, that might be really helpful.
I think it'll be extremely helpful. Thank you for sharing that with us today. Thank you for spending the time with us. And if anyone wants to reach out to Tana, obviously she's a member of the Facebook group, so you can always message her in there or just reach out to her directly if you need some wealth management support. Thank you for being here. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. And to everyone who tuned in, thanks for joining.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Oh, you're so welcome.